Mickey Mouse license? Because that's the only one that's left. The state doesn't issue one, the bar doesn't issue one, and the one they got hanging on the wall is not a license from the state of Michigan. And the Constitution of the state of Michigan says all judges will be licensed to practice law before the state. And you ask him, where's the guy's license? He doesn't have one. And, Your Honor, may it please the court, if since you don't have a license, I'm asking you to recuse yourself until we can get a judge that has a license. Now, a little lady named Virginia Cropsey is the one that perfected this argument. She's a genius at it. She's a little spitfire. If you ever watch her in court, you're actually going to see a treat because she is something else. She's got character. She graduated a full attorney from Wayne State University. And then she refused to join the bar because she didn't want to compromise her rights with their political chicanery. And she is a full-fledged, serious business, legal person. And to hear her work in court is absolutely like listening to Stradivari work the violin. She walks in and blows their doors off. Well, she's on about 3 judges now for this same thing. She blew the first judge out, so then they sent in another judge. They moved her over to the other side of town, over in Berkeley, Michigan, and then she walked in and she blew that judge out of the door. So then they sent her to another judge, and then she turned around and went before the state licensing commission, and now they've handed it up to the judicial people of the state to try and resolve the problem. They're going to end up dropping it. The judge doesn't have a license. Now let's suppose the judge could prove he has a license, which he doesn't. Judge, let me ask you a question. Under your retirement fund, isn't it a fact that you get a certain percentage of the rake-off of all of the tickets that come before your bench? Well, yeah. And isn't out of a $40 that comes across your bench, you get $18.75? Well, yeah. So you have a financial interest in this matter, isn't that correct? Well, yeah. Well, isn't that a violation of Judicial Canon number 7? You're not supposed to have any financial interest in any matter that comes before your court. I'm going to ask you to recuse yourself for bias, Your Honor, may it please the court. And every single judge has got it. Now, does everybody understand how many ways you can hammer them just out of the chute without even getting nasty? The judge don't have a license. The judge has got a personal interest in the case for financial reasons. There is no jurisdiction to hear the matter, and I'll tell you a secret. Once you challenge jurisdiction, the burden falls on the plaintiff to prove jurisdiction. See? And he can't do it. It cannot be done. There isn't any. There is no jurisdiction to hear a traffic ticket in the United States of America. I know, you're sitting back, oh, come on, they've been getting this for years. A traffic ticket is a writ of assistance or a bill of attainder. You look in your Constitution, you'll find out bills of attainder are against the Constitution. And it's stated at least twice that I know of, all right? I'm telling you, you read your Constitution. There is no place for a traffic ticket. You cannot have a writ of assistance that has civil equity arguments that transmit into law penalties. They can't throw you in jail for a debt because that's a debtor's prison. We have a constitutional argument against that also. So how do they do it? Because they wants to, and because you don't know any better. That's how they do it. Okay?
What if they have a court, they say it's a court of equity?
All right, that's a good question. I'm glad you're paying attention here. If they say they have a court of equity and there is equity, then you turn to them and say, thank you, Your Honor, I appreciate your time. I would like to know who is the injured party and where the contract is. Can you show me the contract? There is no contract unless you didn't sign your license on UD 1-207 without prejudice. Where is the contract? It's when you sign for that license. So don't sign for that license unless you put UD 1-207 without prejudice, UCC 1-207. Now, they can't produce the contract, and if they could produce the contract, you've exercised your waiver under the contract not to give up your constitutional rights to travel freely unencumbered, right? And let me ask you this. Can you enter into an unconstitutional contract? Not lawfully. The contract is voidable for not lawful performance. It has to be a lawful contract for you to enter into it. All right, now the next thing. Who's the injured party? Who got injured? Show me, Judge. The parking meter out there? Another neat trick that I like to do, especially in speeding tickets, is I like to confront my accuser. I always like to call a black box that accused me of speeding to the stand, and the judge always gets upset. And I tell him, well, Your Honor, I said, I've been asking this policeman here for 3 hours how the black box that he's been playing with works, and he can't tell me. And we've been through the whole stationary mobile radar manual from Macomb County Community College Law Enforcement Academy, and I've asked him every question, and I don't know how he passed his second-class radio operator's license, because he doesn't know how the damn thing works, period. He doesn't even know how to set up the test to properly test the thing in all environments. I said, on top of that, I said, he is not the witness. He is nothing but a hearsay witness, and his testimony is inadmissible in any court in the land, because you can't have hearsay. He says, what the hell are you talking about? I said, he did not actually accuse me. That black box with flashing lights on it and little beepers accused me. I said, now if I had a black box in here with little lights on it and making noises and accusing and saying, he didn't speed, he didn't speed, he didn't speed, we know how far that'd go, right through that window, Judge. You'd throw it right out through that window. But you let this guy bring his idiot box in with flashing lights and beepers on it, and his thing is exactly by the book and admissible in court. He can't tell me how the thing works. We've been trying for 3.5 hours to test him to see if he knows how it works. He couldn't pass that test to save his life, and the bottom line is, I still don't think the damn thing works, and personally, I want to call it to the stand to confront my accuser. Under Article 1, Section 13, Paragraph 5, I got a right to confront my accuser, and I'd like to confront my accuser, and I'm serving a subpoena. A subpoena deuces take 'em. Which means bring your books and records, too. He goes, that's pretty clever. I says, not only that, Your Honor, he's arguing apples and oranges. See, I got a speedometer in my car, and it might be plus or minus 12 miles an hour on a factory-made one. A handmade one is plus or minus 6 miles an hour. I said, and mine's got a little needle on it, and it works off a little cable that goes in the transmission, it runs off a little gear. I says, it doesn't have 4 decimal places, and it doesn't do space logic and all this other stuff and shoot out a mile ahead and tell me how fast the telephone poles are flying by. I said, he's got this handy-dandy gadget in his car that's measuring speed one way, and I got this one that's measuring speed my way. So how could I be guilty to the extent that his is talking about, because I don't have one of them in my car? Do you see the apples and the oranges here, Judge? It's not really a fair test, is it? He goes, that's a pretty good argument you got there. He says, I'll tell you what we're going to do. You've cost my court enough for the day. I'm going to dismiss the case. What do you think of that? I said, fine by me, Your Honor. But before we do, I have one more bitch, Your Honor. He says, bitch, what's that? I said, you see that police officer there? I have a great deal of respect for that police officer. And I don't like to see that police officer get injured in any capacity. I personally feel that police officer sitting in that vehicle all day, for 8 hours a day, getting bombarded by high-energy microwave energy is an insult to that police officer's life, to his family. I personally feel for that police officer. I wonder why these guys are so irritable and why they don't want to eat no food and they don't want to jump the old lady when they go home. And I says, I understand why. It's because they're being bombarded by this high-energy microwave. And I said, some of them are getting cancer. I says, I think that this is an atrocity. And I said, I don't think that that officer should be required to sit in that car all day and be bombarded by that high-energy microwave energy, which could cause him to get testicular cancer and all kind of other problems with his life. And just so that the city can make bucks off of these tickets. I says, this is an atrocity. He says, you don't worry about that policeman, that's my job. I worry about that policeman. I said, sir, I worry about him. He works for me. I worry about him. I says, now I've personally run tests on this thing where we took a microwave leak detector right from Radio Shack, which you use to detect the microwave leaks on your radar range at home. And I said, we went over by the radar car, he flipped the switch on, and that thing went in the red. So I know them guys are being bombarded by high-energy microwave energy, and I know that if I had a microwave energy oven at home that was leaking that bad, it'd go in the trash. You understand? Because of the dangerous, hazardous energy that is being given off by the thing. I says, now you ask my police officer here, my friend in the community that's going to protect me, to put a risk of cancer or something like that on his body. I says, I think that's absolutely un-American, and I'm protesting. He said, well, I'll take it under consideration. I said, and I thank you for your concern for our police officer. I said, that's all right, Your Honor. I'm trying to be a good citizen. So we walked out of the courtroom, that cop came alongside of me and he says, I ain't never turning that damn thing on again. And what do you bet that didn't go everywhere? Now that's psychological warfare, folks. That's how it works. And I was right, and I was honestly trying to help him. But he told me he ain't never turning that damn thing on again. Now this happened about 1985. Now they've been publishing in the news just in the last year. You're hearing about all these cops that are coming up with cancer from all kind of various things. Well, this is why, folks, because they're being bombarded by these high-energy radar guns. If I was a policeman, I wouldn't turn that thing on for nothing. I'd cut the wire in the thing. I'm not turning it on. What do you think of that? I'll write a ticket, I'll look in the speedometer, and I'll see how fast the guy is going. If he's going fast, I'll give him a ticket. But I'm not turning that thing on.